Russia-Ukraine War. How did the Ukrainian battlefield help train Russian shock soldiers? Russia-Ukraine War. How did the Ukrainian battlefield help train Russian shock soldiers? Russia-Ukraine War today, January 11, 2024. Ukraine is running out of ammunition. Russia stepped up its attack in the direction of Kupiansk. Russia-Ukraine War today, January 12, 2024. Ukraine officially no longer receives aid from the U.S. Russia-Ukraine War today, January 13, 2024. Ukrainian officials doubt security guarantees from Britain. Professionally trained and educated shock soldiers are the backbone of any professional army. They are the units that occupy high points, hold trenches under fire, and engage in melee combat at close ranges of only meters. Without training to adapt to the realities of modern conflicts, a soldier's life on the front lines is measured in days, sometimes even hours. Therefore, based on the realities of the Ukrainian battlefield and the experience of veterans, soldiers of the 1st Reconnaissance and Assault Brigade, nicknamed Wild Wolves, are being trained to prepare for close combat situations. Especially on the battlefield, when using weapons and military equipment. They are a collection of new recruits, seasoned veterans from private military companies, and even female soldiers who are participating in harsh training to prepare for the battlefield. Because the training process requires confidentiality, below are just a few slices of the transformation process from an ordinary soldier to become a tough shock soldier with the unit's motto: "Don't take a step back, because behind is the cemetery." Sports arena sweats. At a training ground on the vast steppe, tunnels and trenches were built to simulate the battlefield, and suddenly loud gunshots rang out, causing the soldiers to bow down out of habit. Continuous explosions rang out on the battlefield. It is clear that there is no saving on ammunition here. If each conscript can fire several hundred rounds of Alaska 74 bullets in a year, then this number here is in a few hours of training. Shock trooper training is usually conducted in pairs. They almost hold guns and participate in training exercises day and night. Assault soldiers are also practicing techniques that were previously taught only in special forces, said an anonymous Russian training officer. Attack is not a ballet move. This is already a war. When moving, you must know where to hide. Everything is done on the go. First cover. You shoot while standing, then rush to cover, where you have to know how to hold down to avoid bullets. Don't forget to change roles. You must learn to shoot from both the left and right shoulder. Next, we run to the new location. We must not be negligent. 2 shots rang out and we could have died, Mr. Oleg Blokhin, a weapons training officer, explained to the volunteers the basic combat principles of shock soldiers. The cadets set out on command, moving in pairs along concrete walls and shelters. At a distance of 100 meters, they could barely see the target. Soldiers almost never prepare for combat situations. This is due to lack of experience, and they have never been prepared for such scenarios. When holding a gun, your elbow must be as close as possible, otherwise you will get a bullet right in the knuckle. The stance is straight towards the opponent, legs slightly bent at the knees, like a sumo wrestler. When moving the machine gun, hold it by the butt. Or not. First we hide, then look out and shoot. Mr. Oleg Blokhin explained to each soldier how to fight and move in narrow spaces. Mr. Oleg Blokhin's request was not a whim or a desire to train champions in shooting, but it was the bloody experience drawn by soldiers after life and death battles. Although they seem intuitively correct, most often the outcome of close-quarters gunfights is the first shot. Whoever fires first will have the advantage. For example, traditional shoulder-to-shoulder shooting, typical of the early 20th century, forced soldiers to turn sideways toward the enemy. The soldier exposed his unprotected ribs. Mr. Oleg Blokhin emphasized that it is much safer to stand face-to-face. In this way, bulletproof armor is capable of withstanding most 5.45 mm caliber shots to protect important areas of the body. This is an essential factor to help soldiers survive when being hit by bullets. 3 weeks of training. The training process for assault soldiers of the Wild Wolf Brigade usually lasts 3 weeks. This time is just enough for soldiers to become familiar with the characteristics of the combat environment. According to the assessment of the unit commander, the training time needs to be 4 to 5 times longer to achieve the highest effectiveness. The need for accelerated training is still very large. Units of the Russian Ministry of Defense, former prisoners of the Storm Z unit and Cossack volunteers all undergo such training exercises, the commander of the Wild Wolf Brigade shared. Because there are so many people who need to be trained, it is difficult for training time to be longer. And the problem lies not only in the training methods developed on the basis of the experience of modern wars, but also in the complex body of knowledge of related fields that the soldier must try to master. Encounter during training. Technical and medical training, practical attacks in urban environments, attacks under artillery and mortar support. This is not a complete list of skills required, which every soldier need to understand before joining the Wild Wolf Brigade, the unit's commander added. While the exchange took place, gunfire continued to echo throughout the arena. Most soldiers were focused on training and did not pay much attention to the appearance of strangers. At the other end of the open field, grenade launchers were arranged, practicing destroying armored vehicles with shoulder-fired fire. They were commanded by an instructor nicknamed Ivanich, an experienced soldier with an impressive combat record on the fronts near Belogorivka, Bakhmut and Avdiivka. We are learning to work at target ranges up to 300 meters. To learn how to master shooting skills, each soldier needs at least 1 month and 3 months to perfect the skills. Experienced soldiers can fire grenade launchers with a mechanical level, although there are now advanced devices for calculating distance. In addition, you need to know and remember the weaknesses of many types of targets. Veteran Ivanich shared his experience gained on the battlefield. 1 minute ago, the soldiers participating in training did not complete the shooting exercise as required. They had to go through the main punishment of a mobile march before returning to the firing line to repeat the exercise. Each soldier participating in training can use many types of ammunition for different types of targets. From explosive fragmentation bullets with the soldier-style name, pencil, anti-tank warheads, carrots, and thermobaric bullets, piglets. It attacks infantry within a range of up to 10 meters. It literally burns everything by spraying explosives, Ivanovich noted authoritatively. After 10 minutes of maneuvering as punishment, the platoon of soldiers, sweaty from exertion, returned to the line. Fatigue was evident on their faces and there was distinct insecurity in their eyes. However, the effectiveness of penalty runs is clearly visible. One by one, they hit the target at high speed without modern aiming aids. Don't take a step back, because behind is the cemetery. Next to the shooting range, there is a group of people attentively listening to the instructions of a military medical expert. The medical instructor, with the black humor characteristic of a military doctor, was describing to the soldiers the unpleasant consequences of injuries to different parts of the body. Sometimes it sounds very encouraging, sometimes it sounds very scary. Guys, I'm not going to lie. Getting hit in the face looks creepy. The skin curls towards the forehead and ears, but nothing life-threatening. They will straighten it and put it on its feet. Wounds in the nose-eye triangle are much more dangerous. Death was almost instant, the training officer said. A notable point is that in each soldier's shoulder there is a sticker with the symbol and slogan of the Wild Wolf Brigade. 1 step, never retreat, because behind is the cemetery. The training officer continues to instruct soldiers in basic first aid methods. The guide soldier lies face down. This is the most comfortable position for self-medication. The instructor slowly talks about how to use the first aid kit. Press on the ground, look for blood, pull your other hand towards the tourniquet and only then feel the location of the fragment or bullet. On the front line, you often have to give first aid to yourself. While the attack is going on, when injured, things need to be handled quickly and in an orderly manner. Don't forget that enemy fire is still shooting at you. This is called the red zone. There we do the bare minimum. Mechanical hemostasis, bandaging, anesthesia. Your main task is to try to hide in the yellow zone, where the enemy cannot detect and shoot at you, the military medical officer said. Meanwhile, a soldier of the neighboring platoon, practicing explosive shooting from a standing position, did not remove his finger from the trigger and accidentally discharged the remaining bullets in the magazine directly into his boot. Luckily, the bullets missed his legs and fingers. Of course, that soldier had to receive the punishment of doing push-ups. Observing the incident, Mr. Oleg Blokhin admitted that such cases occur almost continuously. And this is not surprising. That's why soldiers are taught how to use weapons safely, cool them, and clean them correctly. After just a few weeks of training, soldiers will transform from new recruits into skilled warriors. The final tests of the course are only the first step to the harsh battlefield. And there they will truly know whether they have enough skills to survive and win. While leaving the training ground, Mr. Oleg Blokhin received the unfortunate news that a Storm Z unit had been seriously damaged by an enemy drone. Sharing about the incident, Mr. Oleg Blokhin said, "War is a continuously operating system. You can train infantry, stockpile ammunition, and buy equipment. But just one mistake, such as a counterattack or the wrong arrangement of electronic warfare equipment, can take the lives of dozens of soldiers. We must constantly improve. Without this, we will never see victory."